Hi, it's Chris Watkin here with Charlie Wright. Charlie, you've been around in the estate agency for over 20 years. Let's talk about the Charlie Wright story. Who the hell are you and why the hell do you keep coming out with all this stuff? Have you always been in the estate agency?
No. I started, my first job was in insurance broking.
Okay.
For a couple of years, then I went into the money markets and qualified as a...
When was this?
This was the early mid-90s.
Okay. You don't look old enough.
Ah, thank you very much. I was in one of the open outcry pit exchanges on the day that sterling devalued and came out of the ERM. And
92, if that was.
that's right.
Yeah.
I saw some exciting things happen. I did that instead of university. I did 3 years in the city, qualified as a...
So you didn't start in the estate agency then?
No, not at all.
Okay. So did you always want to be involved in the estate agency?
Nope.
Okay. So how did you get into it then?
I was buying and selling a flat at a time, buying it, renting it out, doing it up, selling it.
This is in the 90s?
Yeah.
Because that was pretty hard work at that time, because property prices weren't going up hugely in the early mid 90s. Were you typing them up and?
I had quite a lucky. Maybe I got lucky, but
Yeah.
I did 3 flats, one after the other. The first one was in Brighton, the second one was in Hastings, third one was in London. All turned around within under a year, and it was what I began in property thinking. Well, my experience as a customer of agents wasn't great, and I had I made the same mistake that many people have made since then, which is thinking, I can fix this problem, I can do it better. And I came up with an idea called Property to Go,
Okay.
which was effectively the purple bricks of 20 years ago.
Okay. So you were ahead of your time.
Yeah, but what happens, I came up with an idea that would allow private sellers to have their properties photographed, floor planned, and do a virtual tour and put it online themselves.
What year was this?
98, 99?
98. So Rightmove was there or thereabouts, wasn't it?
I remember going to one of their early seminars.
Okay. And how did that go?
Oh, it was a disaster. It was, I remember because we were, to launch a consumer brand is massive. And so we were talking to investors. And one of the investors said, have you thought about selling this service to estate agents? And I was like, no, the whole point is to cut the estate agent out. And he said, well, does anything like this exist in agency? He went, no. I said, no, and it didn't. And he said, well, you should try do that. And then you've got business customers instead of consumers. And so we started a company called Datography,
Okay.
which was the first in the world to provide a one-stop digital photography, floor plans, and virtual tour service.
And again, this was around 98?
98, 99, yeah.
Okay.
Our first client was a countrywide brand, Farron Sataria in London.
Oh, yes.
And they were major competitors of Foxtons at the time, who were quite a lot smaller. And we trademarked the name Datography. Foxtons nicked it, and we had to sue them. We won because it was at the time it took between 2 and 4 weeks from the point of instruction to get a property's marketing ready. Even the big companies like Savills, Knight Frank were taking up to 4 weeks to get there, and we took that down to 2 days.
Okay.
So,
And what were you trying to achieve by doing? What was your motivation of setting up this Datography firm?
my motivation, right from the word go, is that moving house should be fun.
Okay.
I've never. It's supposed to be you're moving on in life, right? You're leaving your parents, renting your first student flat. You're going to university, or you're leaving university, going for your first job, getting your first home, or you've met someone, you're settling down, got kids, whatever it is. It should be. It's like, hey, we're going to find somewhere new to live. I've always thought that moving house should be fun and exciting, especially if you're doing it as a partner, with a partner. But it's been documented for a long time as one of the most awful,
the most stressful things. Right.
Yeah. Second only to divorce, but often it's happened at the same time as divorce. So
Doesn't help, does it?
Double for your money. And I've always been fascinated by the fact that even though movers and agents both need the same thing, which is for a move to happen, because if you're an agent and the move doesn't happen, you don't get paid. And if you're a mover, you need to move. I've always been fascinated by why the industry and the consumer are at each other's throats.
And you realised this 20 years ago?
Yeah.
So how did it go?
Went really well. It took off. It grew incredibly fast. We opened off. We were in London and in Sydney, and within a few years we had 50 staff, and we were the first company doing it. And then it got torn apart by a shareholder battle, and I got fired from my own company that I'd started. Had too many investors.
How did that make you feel?
It was the most painful thing that had ever happened to me at that point in my life. It was 4 years of every ounce of energy and passion and enthusiasm I had gone into.
Because you planned a lot into this, hadn't you? Not
I
only
sold
money,
my
but
flat.
time.
I sold the only flat I had at the point, and basically lived.
Because you were hoping to make a difference to a estate agency. That's what you told us
Yeah.
before we switched the cameras on.
Yeah.
Do you think you were getting somewhere?
Well, the one-stop digital photography floor plan service has now become an industry standard.
Yes,
We're
it
the first
has.
people to do it. We reduced the time to market from a month to a couple of days in London. I think that didn't hurt anybody. That helped agents and helped people moving. I thought that it might help improve the liquidity of the property market by, if you reduce transaction times, then you get a lower fall-through rate. But at the same time as that, Farah and Satari, funny enough, I remember them saying, just after they'd given us the go-ahead to start photographing and floor planning all their properties, they said, we haven't got a website that can display all this rich content. And without batting an eye, they went, there's no problem, we can build you one. They're still using that system to this day, as far as I know. So I unintentionally, unexpectedly ended up in the software provision business.
I'm with you.
We built something that allowed them to put their properties in and their applicants, and it started doing their matching, and that was the first of its kind at the time.
What, didn't agents have these things then back in 98, 99?
Not web-based ones, they didn't, no.
Okay.
And what made this one unique was that you put your properties in, and that would put it onto your website and to the portal straight away, as well as into your matching system, because up until that point, you always have a separate system. In fact, they were faxing their property details to their current website provider at that time. Faxing. So this is 98, 99.
So that what, then the web company would then upload
You would then
it?
type it in manually and put in a scanned photograph. One. At the time, Foxtons had already got to the point of putting lots of photographs on the website. And we knew that in order to keep the contract that we just won, we'd have to give them the facility to actually display all this stuff.
Yes.
It was a funny oversight. I know.
So you kind of set your own software, web designer, CMS system up. How did that go?
Brilliantly to begin with.
Okay.
I reckon it was the thing, because one of our larger customers quite early on was Dexter's,
Yes.
or Thames View, as the parent company said. And I remember them at the time. At the time, they had an enormous room dedicated just to printing and posting property details, and they sent all details to all applicants. It cost them a fortune. I remember it was over 6 figures a year. It was costing them, and this automatic matching system that I built then, they just did away with that.
So it must have saved them hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Did.